Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a new beginner's guide for Path of Exile for 2024. Now looking behind me, I have written a lot of notes regarding to the game from the start to the end. And what I want to do is I want to briefly explain everything that is important related to the game, including the currency system, the craftings, the trading system, and everything that's related to the game. And as you guys can see in the links behind me with multiple videos, with tons of useful tools and also things that will be helpful in playing and also learning Path of Exile. There is also a secondary tab which I have made previous guides for Path of Exile which I refer back to. So this guide is aimed to teach you guys how to start Path of Exile and also what are the things you should be aware as a beginner and what are the most important things you should be aware to learn Path of Exile. Now before we dive into the guide, if you look into my play hours for Path of Exile, it's close to 600 hours. And this was actually during 2019. It has been a while since I played Path of Exile, but there is a lot more content to come with the game. Simply because Path of Exile has new themes and also features each of the season. And if the players like the theme, they also become a permanent thing. Now one of the best things about Path of Exile, it is that Path of Exile is a free game. And also with Path of Exile 2 that is coming with betas and also release, there's more reason to play Path of Exile and also understand and also learn the game. Most of the things that you can purchase in Path of Exile are going to be cosmetics and also skins. We'll briefly talk about the most essential things you can purchase in the game as well, including stash items. So if you come over to my inventory, you can see I have tons of stash items, and those can be helpful in organizing items or helping you to sell items to other players. So coming over to the first step of playing Path of Exile. How do you start your character creation? It is recommended, guys, if you're starting the game as a new player, do start with a standard mode because this is tend to be the most easy mode. And as you can see, Path of Exile currently have 7 different classes to choose from. Now other than the Psychon class, all the other classes have 3 different specializations or advanced class change as you play the game. So in total, you're looking at 19 different ascendancies for class and also different builds, which allows for much deeper customization. Now if you come over to one of my previous character, and this is a Necromancer, you can see the skill trees and also the path and also the characterization is gonna be very intense and also very complicated. So as a brief summary, I can start as a Lich, and then as I do my Trials of Ascension, I can job change or pick advanced class like the Necromancer. And this will allow me to pick special skill trees and also passives as in terms of the Necromancer to gain tons of benefits defensively and also offensively with my summoned minions. Now as we dive deeper into the specialization of different characters, what you're gonna see is, let's come over to my character. I really like this gem and I'm sure there's even more features that's added compared to what I was up to. So here you can see I have different passives, and notice that this passive says Corrupted Soul. But if I remove this gem, this passive says something different. So you can actually corrupt and also change the range and also effects of your passives using different gems that is socketed in your skill tree. And this is just touching the tip of the iceberg with Path of Exile as you customize and also change different things according to your characters, and also changing your gems and even passives according to your build. Now as a generic reference, as you start with a class, you're more likely going to pick into skill trees and also passives that is within the range of your class. Sometimes if you want to path downwards, it is more preferable to start as a different class. And this is the only reason that we'll start as a different class, together with the ascendancies and also different masteries. So this means that any class can path into any method and build into any build as long as it is viable and also it is skill efficient. Now that we had a brief look at Path of Exile and also the overwhelming customization with different characters, the next question I want to share with you guys is, how do you select the build? How do you play the game? Well, in the past, I have made a collection of different guides for Path of Exile. I wouldn't say those guides are most updated, but the basic beginner's guide should be relevant, including how to get your loot filters and also how to try different builds. I do recommend and will have links available to you guys with Macro over here, which will allow you guys to learn Path of Exile into more details with different web guides and also from different content creators. Now, as a brief summary, because Path of Exile can be very punishing for new players who actually path out the tree randomly and then later realize you have to respec and also change skill points, and those will cost you valuable currencies. So one recommendation is for new players to follow a build before we try something new ourselves. This way we can understand the game the best. And this of course takes us to this particular reference to how to pick a build guide. So what is recommended by me and also a lot of players is that you want to look for build guide that include a path of builder link together with detailed explanations. And over here you can see in the backgrounds, I'm currently looking into a number of builds including explosive traps for Path of Exile. And you can see most of the build will include Path of Builder, including different changes of different loots in early game, mid game and also late game transition. Those are very important as you look for different builds. I'll be providing you guys with a list of content creators I'll be following and also learning for Path of Exile. Now coming over to the number 4 point, and I think this is a really important point. So I have mentioned about Path of Builder. This is actually additional software made by the community that allows you to path your build and also your guide and also your skills and understand where you're going and how to min and max things. There's a lot of summaries which allows you to see the details of your skills, what happens when you change skill rank, and what happens when things change. And this really allows players to customize to your task content. And this is one of the best calculation tool to show you what is the best defensive, offensive stats for your build and everything you want to know for your character. And this can be shared to other players. So having a Path of Builder link allows you to follow other players and also min and max your own build. So this is a very important tool if you want to follow any build or optimize your own build to min and max your stats. On the second part, we also look at the loot filters. Now Path of Exile has some really good loot filters, and this ranges from beginner filters, mid-game filters, late-game filters, and also extremely rare filters. And those are available to the players, and those tools are free. So over here you can see some screenshots of using the Path of Builder, which is this particular software, and this is amazingly detailed, which allows players to learn and also path their talents before they invest valuable points into the skill trees. Because if you actually invest your skill points, you'll have to change and also adjust things. And once that happens, you actually have to spend currencies and also valuable resource. And players can plan ahead of time before the season even starts for some really good builds. Now over here, I have provided you guys with the official link to download Path of Builder and also the loot filter for Filter Blade. This is where most of the players use the loot filters and also for the Path of Building. And here we do have a guide video to teach you how to implement, download and also install your loot filters for Path of Exile. Now that we had a look at the important tools for the game, let's have a look at the leveling process. Similar to most of the action RPGs, you will be trying to finish the story while enjoy the voice acted story, unlock various endgames, and also participate in a number of content, including mapping, including killing different bosses, and also different dungeons. During this time, any content you participate will allow you to loot a lot of currency, which can be used to trade between the players and also improve your own items. Now, similar to last Epoch, in Path of Exile, you will be able to acquire additional skill points, passives, and also respec points to allow you to change your skill trees. And this can be coming from the side quest. We do have a guide over here to talk about the campaigns and also the quest guide. Because as you're going to see during the quest, you'll be rewarded with different skill gems. And this beginner guide will tell you about how I was picking skill gems and how I can follow different builds. And for those of you guys who want to get all the loots and also all the skill points, I do have a guide video here from Future Gaming which shows where to get all the bonus skill points for Path of Exile. Now we have mentioned about currency and also crafting a few times in the previous sections. So how does it work? Because Path of Exile itself actually does not have gold. It uses items that are used for crafting and we call those currency items. And those items can be traded among players and those items can be used to buy different items from different players or using those directly for crafting. It can be a little overwhelming because the game does not use gold. But after a little while, you guys will get used to this. And if you're not sure what's happening, make sure you come over to this guide video, which I talk about the currency values and also how those are used and what are the most important currencies. Now keep in mind, even though those videos are made in the past, they're still very relevant to teach you guys the economy for Path of Exile. Now, as a brief summary, how does trading work for Path of Exile is that two major currencies will be used, Chaos Orbs and also Exalted Orbs. Those currencies, like the ones you see over here, are the foundations that players use to trade other items. For example, here we have the trading website for Path of Exile. You can trade Chaos Orbs and also Exalted Orbs, and you'll be trading between players. You can see here 26 Chaos Orb will equal to 1 Exalted Orb, and those orbs itself can also be used for crafting. Now, if you want to buy some items, you can come over to the filters and also search bars on the official trading site, and you can see some of those items only cost 1 Chaos Orb. Other items will cost 3, 5, or even 10, 20 Chaos Orbs. And depending on the rarity of the items and also the stage of the season, you can see different ranges for different endgame items. Now, in order to teach you guys how to buy and also trade items, we do have a guide video I made in the past, and this will teach you guys how to trade items and also how to start making more profit in Path of Exile. Now, during this time, it is important to highlight that players with more experience in Path of Exile can actually use items to craft more items. So they will be using the currencies that you see over here to craft onto the items and make items even more valuable, which allows them to sell those items for 2 to 10 times more value with different crafting and also different method, which we'll cover in the future. Now, we mentioned earlier that Path of Exile is a free game. Now, for me personally, I have been buying stash types, and you can see we have a number of different stash types. One of the reasons I was buying the stash types is to support the developers, but also to have some utility having those stash types. Now, we mentioned about trading. Keep in mind, guys, you can only trade if you have purchased the bank selling stash types, which allow you to list items for a certain price, and players can message you after for those items. But if you have not bought any stash types yourself, you cannot be selling items. But in terms of buying items, any player can buy items from different players. Now, if you come over to this guide video, I'll explain things more in these regards, and also how to trade items, and also how to make more currency, and also buy other items from players you want to purchase. Now, I realize we did skip a little bit because we're talking about trading and also marketing. So here I'll provide you guys with a link to the official Path of Exile trading website, and this will allow you to both filter for items that you are looking for, and also then buying different kinds of items with items you want and also items you want to exchange. This can be a little overwhelming at the start, but once you get used to this, this is actually amazing advanced and allows you to trade and also make a great profit if you know what you're doing. And yes, guys, we do have a variety of different guides I'll be including in the links below, which will teach you how to trade and also how to make a profit in Path of Exile. Now, as we go through various points, you start to realize there is so much more to talk about in Path of Exile, and it's going to be very hard for me to cover everything in one video. So let's do a brief summary. So there are a number of in-game content that you can be playing, and here I'll give you guys some of the examples. After achieving the endgame, you can start to play tier 1 maps all the way up to tier 16 maps. And then there are super rare maps, there are special PvP maps, there's also rare dungeon maps, farming maps, and also endgame maps. So those maps are the transitional stage similar to last Epoch with corruptions. And the best thing about those maps is that you can also sell those maps for additional currency and sell themselves for a lot of currency, together with the ability to farm different bosses and also different themes in each of the seasons. There's always tons of content to be played for Path of Exile for the endgame, which I'll be making guides on each of those parts as we play the game in the new league. Now, from the start, I have mentioned that there is tons of builds and also class customization. And over here, I do have some beginner's guide to teach you guys about gearing, the stats requirement, and also additional ways with your skills and also usage, and also how the gems and also sockets works. So do come over here if you want some beginner guides of interacting with skills, gems, and also the links. Now, as we jump into the latest stage of Path of Exile, you're gonna see that players will be using this particular word. They call this juicing. So what's happening is, those maps that you find in the game, you can also consider crafting onto those maps. And this will also provide us with additional jobs onto those maps. Of course, this will be much later stage of the game, and I'll be making another video for you guys to demonstrate this. there's also tons of variety of in-game content that I'll briefly talk to you guys about. And one of my favorite things is about the Val Ops. So you might have seen this one, you might have known. This item will change and also craft item, which makes the item unable to be crafted. But this will also have random unpredictable changes to certain items, which can give you some crazy result. At the same time, it might destroy the item. Now there are also tons of amazing in-game features. Now one of the cool in-game features are coming from the cards, and you can be collecting and also finding cards from different maps and also special maps. By collecting enough cards, you can then fuse the cards together into the item the cards represent. And players can be trading those cards for a lot of different currencies, or finding some of the most rare items in the game using the cards, and even gambling on the cards. And here I will briefly show you guys some of the demonstrations from my friend Roy NZ. He's a big expert in Path of Exile, and he was #1 in the season for a while as well. So here, this is one of the most rare items in the game, and those are the cards for the mirror. So the Mirror of Kadara allows you to duplicate any items, and here he's actually gambling those cards to be creating a mirror for himself, and this item is actually the most expensive item in the game. Now this might seem to be a little underwhelming, so let's have a look at some of his loots and also some of the rewards he was getting in the game. And it does feel very exciting to see all those amazing loots as he farms different type of content in the game. Now I feel that I'm not doing the endgame enough justice, but in the future guys, we'll focus on the endgame of Path of Exile and how to get the most out of it, because there's so much endgame and also so much content to be played. Now before I finish the video, let's have a quick summary. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with tons of information, but there is a lot to cover with Path of Exile. And what I recommend for beginner players is to start with the basics. Start with having the Path of Builder software available so you can plan and also follow different builds. After that, having a loot filter for the beginner level is very important. And then we can be finding a build and also following a build that you are interested in. I'll be sharing a tons of great league starting build and also beginner friendly build to you guys onto this channel. And this way we can be learning and also playing the new season together with Path of Exile. Now as we learn and also play the game, it's important to remember that we don't need to know everything as to the game. It may be important for us gamers to know everything, but this game has so many elements and also is so complicated in the endgame, it takes a while to grasp everything. So what I recommend is pick up those things and also research on those as you encounter them. Let's say if you started mapping, or you started doing mazes, or if you started doing trading, or if you started doing dungeons. As you discover and also want to learn those, then you can touch up on those through different guides. And finally guys, don't be scared that there's a lot to learn, because as a gamer, I'm really excited to see a game with endless content and also ever-growing features as they update the game with each season and also with Path of Exile to come. Now what I do now is I will provide you my previous playlist and also my various beginners guide for Path of Exile. At the same time, the notes and also links will be available for you guys in a mega Path of Exile learning guide. And those notes will be constantly updated. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow those notes for the latest update for Path of Exile to come, and also Path of Exile 2. Now if you guys find my videos and also guides helpful, and also want to support my passion in making more guides and also more videos for the last Epoch and also more games to come like Path of Exile, please consider joining me on Patreon, and also here I have created my Ko-Fi page. You can also support me directly through donations, but supporting me continuously with one of those memberships will mean a lot for my future updated videos and to become financially sustainable, so I can be continuing making videos for you guys and doing what I love the most, and that is to share and also teach our communities as I dive into different games and making more guides for you guys. And as you guys gonna see in the future, I'll have different ranks and also perk advantages and also special events and also special features for members like account reviews, perfecting the build for you guys, and also co-op time play, and also even special future videos for you guys on your special build for different members.